the graft is the cornerstone to any ACL reconstruction. So you get a good graft, you get a good ACL reconstruction. You and us are all secondary. The first thing is getting the right graft, right? So, what is reconstruction? What is repair? Okay? Reconstruction is substituting the old ACL with something new for stability, all right? What's repair? Just fixing the old ACL back to where it broke off from, all right? So we need to understand these two and not confuse these two terminologies. So in a reconstruction, you have various types. There's bundle-specific reconstruction. So Chirag very nicely said, okay, this is the AM bundle, this is the PL bundle. So what does bundle-specific mean? One bundle breaks, you reconstruct that particular bundle, right? Stump preservation, that's what Chirag showed you here. You preserve the old stump and put in a new ACL for stability. There are certain inherent advantages of preserving the stump. We'll talk about that in a bit. Third is the all-inside ACL reconstruction. So normally, how is this different from the others? In a normal ACL reconstruction, you drill tunnels which are of the diameter of your graft on the tibia and in the femur for about 20-30 millimeters. In the all-inside ACL, the whole concept is you have sockets on either end, on the femur and the tibia, so that you get a small stout graft that is suspended through suspensory fixation, which are buttons on either end, all right? So you get a smaller single graft, which you can quadruple or make it 6 times and make it thicker. Repair again are ACL tibial avulsion fixations, that means ACL coming out of one end. So ACL is like a clothesline, it can come out from either end where it's attached or it can tear in the middle. So when it comes out from one end, the tibial end, it's a tibial fixation or femoral soft tissue avulsion fixation or a bony fixation, all right? This is what you've got. So this is the whole gamut of reconstruction versus repair, and we're going to be talking about reconstruction. So ACL has 2 functions, stability, proprioception, all right? And we can get a good ACL reconstruction and a good result if we preserve the stump, all right? Because the stump has certain nerve fibers called proprioceptive nerve fibers that give you position sense. That is, when you close your eyes, you know where your knee is in spite of not looking at it. And of course, provide stability. And getting back to sport, proprioception is extremely important for people to feel confident about their knee. Now, these are 2 scenarios, right? So let's see this first. Anyone can guess this test? I was brave enough to try it on a wonderful kabaddi player. What's this test called? Pivot shift test, right? And what is this test? The anterior, posterior draw, whatever. All right, so these are drawer tests, all right? So these are 2 distinct kind of cases. Don't confuse both of them. Many times you may have the first one I showed you, the pivot shift, but not have the second one. So instability can be divided into 2 main parts, rotational instability and linear instability. Linear is in one direction. Rotation is in a 360-degree plane. Linear instability could be just the ACL alone. All right. Rotational instability is what I called ACL plus injuries. So you can't treat all of them. It's a menu approach to treating these cases. All right. It's like Chinese food. You can choose kung pao chicken, chili chicken, whatever you want. So rotational could be from the ACL, from the ALL. So this was a wonderful ligament that someone said we discovered, and the French people didn't like it because they felt they'd been doing this particular reconstruction for ages together. So the ALL was an additional, I would say, soft tissue fold that they found on the lateral aspect of the knee, which they renamed, the Belgian group, Claes et al., renamed it a new ligament called the ALL. And of course the meniscus, and a lovely image by ID in his presentation of a ramp tear. So when you have a ramp tear, that is a meniscus tear which is very peripheral, closer to the capsule. It provides rotational instability. So what is the ideal graft? So it should have certain characteristics. It should be in similar property to the old ACL. There should be limited donor site morbidity. That means from where you're taking it out, it shouldn't cause too much problem there, or by taking it out, you shouldn't be creating another bane for the patient. And it should allow for secure fixation. It shouldn't be really fragile that when you try to fix it, it breaks. All right? And it should incorporate rapidly. That means the body should accept this graft quickly. All right? So just for your information, these are all AI generated images. So this is a world of AI at the back that you can see. So when I asked the ideal graft, this is what ChatGPT gave me. So I said, beware, in a period of time, this is going to take over all of us, and this is what it thinks about it. Right now, I think it's very rudimentary, you don't have to worry, but it's a developing space. So most of these background images you will find are all AI generated. So factors to consider. Individualized risk factors. Each patient is different. Each patient's activity levels are different. Requirements are different. So you need to cater to him based on what he plans to get back to. The anatomy of the body. So we know the foot is also involved. There are multiple other joints which basically influence your knee joint. So don't neglect them. Focus on them too. The sport that the patient is going into. So there's certain sports which would need the hamstring more. There's certain sports that would need the quads more. So you don't want to weaken those structures. You want to preserve them as much as possible. The level of competition. So I say there are two kinds of patient. Jinki amdani aati hai ACL se, or who want ACL for fun. The amdani ones are the ones you look after. That is all their income comes from a stable knee, right? So these are your patients where you have no chance of error, etc. There's some of them which never may require an ACL reconstruction, but they still have it because we are a market of MRI diagnosis. So a lot of patients say, if you don't do it, someone else will do it. So you sometimes have them. Maybe they don't require it, so-called copers, etc. But the ones that need to get back to sport require a stable knee, and you better do what's best for them. The age of the patient is very important because the younger you are, the more you're going to be using your ACL. So the faster I'm going to drive my car, the seat belt is very important for me to have so that I have a double security so that I don't have an accident. So there's seat belt, there are those bags that come out that save me from any kind of adverse event. And if you're thinking about a revision ACL, always think of the graft that was previously used. Always think the previous surgeon was an intelligent man. Of course, he used all his brains, but the patient came to you so you can learn from his mistake and consider what better you can do to make him better. So what are your graft options? Autograft, which is a graft taken from the own body. Allograft, that is taken from a dead body. And a synthetic graft that's manufactured in the lab. All right, these are the three main options. So this is what AI thinks about an allograft. This is the image. You write allograft, try to describe whatever you want. This is what AI thinks about an allograft. God knows what it is. It looks great though. So allografts are expensive, all right, because you procure them from certain sources, especially, one of the most reliable sources in the United States. However, very expensive because there's import duties, etc. The results are not as good. So this is a documented fact. Literature, unfortunately, is flawed. Many times it doesn't give you concrete answers that this works, that doesn't work. But unfortunately, in allografts, it says they are inferior for intra-articular reconstructions. They're not easily available. So in India, very hard to get. These are the various options. You can have tendoachilles, you can have the peroneus longus, quads, hamstring, whatever. They can take it from any part of the body and make it into a graft for you. This is the autograft. This is what AI thinks about the autograft. These are easily available. This is what we normally use, graft taken from the body. The results are the best as of now because they're reasonable long-term follow-up with these kind of grafts. They're cheaper because there's no extra money for the graft as such. I call them extra buttons in a shirt that God gives you. So you can use these buttons when one falls off. So like the hamstring, quadriceps, patellar tendon, peroneus longus, etc. So what is the strength, the ideal strength of these grafts? So the normal load to failure, this is our bottom line. Load to failure is the amount of force that I put for it to break. So your normal ACL is 2,160 newtons. The quadrupled hamstring is 4,100 newtons. So it's much stronger. The BPTB is 2,977 newtons. The peroneus longus is even stronger, 4,268 newtons. And the quadriceps is very close to the native ACL. Follow-up, of course, quadruple hamstring has a long follow-up. BTB has the longest. It was the oldest graft which is used. Unfortunately, we like to reinvent the wheel, so we find new graft sources, but it's a very reliable source. Peroneus longus is very short, and Abhishek, I'm likely to get shot by Abhishek if I talk about this a little too much. And quadriceps, again, is relatively short, all right? What are the complications? Quadruple hamstring is infrapatellar branch of your saphenous nerve can get cut. You can get slightly higher infection rates in statistics, less predictable graft incorporation. BPTB, biggest issue was anterior knee pain, chances of patellar fracture. The scar is bigger and patient doesn't perceive it as an arthroscopic surgery. Peroneus longus, very short follow-up, possible weakness in the foot and less predictable graft incorporation. Quadriceps, short follow-up, possible quadriceps weakness and the scar is bigger. Graft diameter, we were just talking about it. Quadruple hamstring is unpredictable. Why? Because you may have a different diameter you're born with. I've done some studies on this, MRI, etc., but they're not very reliable at the end of the day. The BPTB is reliable because you're only taking a part of the BPTB. And we all have a particular diameter of the BPTB at least. So if you're going to take, let's say, 7 or 8 mm of that BPTB, we know we are going to get that much. So it's predictable. Peroneus longus, unpredictable but very thick graft, whatever it is. Quadriceps, again, is predictable because the quadricep tendon is huge. We only take a part of it. Synthetic graft, this is what AI thinks about synthetic grafts. No morbidity of graft harvest at all. Quicker rehab and return to sport. It's expensive, it's not cheap. Shorter follow-ups, of course, not as long. And these are the options, the jewel and the Lars, okay? But what is the jewel? It's made up of polyethylene terephthalate. It has an open weave structure. When doubled, the strength is the same as the native ACL. This is what has been tested in the lab. And there's ingrowth of tissue because it has these little pores that you can see at the side of these grafts. The Lars was the older generation. Again, similar substance, polyethylene terephthalate. There are no pores in this. It's more or less solid. It did cause a lot of reactive synovitis. That means the body reacting to this fluid, and there's no ingrowth of tissue at all. So what is my approach to this? So when I have an ACL tear, when do I repair and internally brace or do a jewel or whatever? I do it when the injury is less than 3 months. When there's Sherman's grade 1 and 2, that means where is the ACL torn off from and how much stump is preserved. When there's no locked bucket handle tear, because locked bucket handle tear for me is rotatory instability, and a non-professional sports person. Repair plus reconstruct is injury greater than 3 months, Sherman grade 1 and 2, and a sportsman. When do I do a stump preserving ACL reconstruction? Wherever I can, all right? And the last, when do I add an LET? When there's a grade 3 pivot, a professional sports person, or a revision ACL. In all my revision ACLs, I have an LET. And tibial avulsion, there are 2 ways of doing it. Now coming to the graft, ACL tear, these are my graft choices. When do I use quad tendon? I use them, when do I use the all-inside semi-T with internal bracing? When do I use the jewel, which is the artificial ligament? When do I add an LET? When do I do a peroneus longus? So starting with quad tendon, primary ACL in sprinters, soccer players, etc., I do a quad tendon. And all my revision ACL reconstructions. All inside semi-T with internal bracing is my go-to graft in most of my primary ACLs when I'm using an autograft. Jewel, which is the artificial graft, fresh ACL with no rotatory instability and a good stump. Affordable patients, of course, and those that need to get back to sport fast. And ACL soft tissue femoral avulsion. So I used to do a lot of primary ACL repairs, but now I felt I've at least got another seat belt along with my repair, not depending on only it healing. This gives that stability part of it. LET, that's an additional ligament at the side to avoid rotatory instability. In those less than 22, because they have a long way to go, so I need a seat belt for my ACL. Lachman grade 3, pivot shift grade 3, not Lachman grade 3. All revision ACLs and pivoting sports. When do I use the peroneus longus? Never for any primary ACL reconstruction. Thank you.